he's done something wrong. Police is after him. The FBI is looking for him. He's on the terrorist most wanted list. Something came to their mind. And I told him, I said, Mom, I said, I want to be born again. I want to be saved. I'm so glad that Mom and Dad didn't say, wait till tomorrow. Mom and Dad got up out of that bed that night. It was late, probably midnight, but they got on up out of the bed. And I knelt down beside that bed. The Lord saved me. Amen. Wrote my name in the Lamb's Book of Life. Oh, forever gave me eternal life. And I started going to church after that. You know, Brother Rick, somebody told me, said, now, you don't have to be all emotional. But you know, Cody, I played football and wrestled and run track all my life, and everybody was emotional there. Amen. But when I went to church, they said, you don't need to be emotional. Well, the greatest thing that ever happened to me had just happened. Amen. And I was excited that the Lord could reach down and save an old wretch like me, right my name in the Lamb's Book of Life. Let me tell you something. Oh, it's been 40 years, but it's still just as good this morning as it was that Sunday night that I came here. I want you to know I tell you, we got some of the greatest singers in all the country right here at the church. These girls do an outstanding job. Amen. They sure did. This band, I tell you, we got great talent here. Amen. For the size of our church, I don't know of any church that has any better talent than what we have right here at Christ Community Church. Amen. Well, we're excited today. 3 years ago today, we started. Our haters said they wouldn't last 6 months. But we're alive and well. The church is doing great. Today, a year ago, we started grading the land next door. It was on a Saturday we started doing that, and we bought that land, and it was expensive. It was $165,000 for 2.5 acres. And yeah, it's high anywhere. We had no other choice. Monica came next door and built that pretty home over there beside us, and that was the only thing between us and her was that 2.5 acres. And if we was ever going to do anything, and the people who owned it knew that. But it started off at 250, and we got them down to 165, and that was a big thing for us. We had just purchased this building the year before that for $550,000, but we were able within just a short time to pay that bill and pay that loan off. We don't owe anything on the building. We stepped out by faith and bought that land, and our payments was $3,500 a month on that land. And we're on track to have it paid off in 6 months. Sunday morning, someone was here at the church and they donated $10,000 toward paying off of that land. Last Sunday morning. We're thankful. We're on the 16th, we'll be having our meeting, and I hope you've been thinking about it. We're going to start a new sanctuary. You know, I didn't know this is Labor Day weekend, and you know, I didn't know people would be laboring or vacationing. You'd think on Labor Day everybody'd go to work. But I didn't know how, you know, what our attendance would be like because of Labor Day. And you know, if you can get away, I don't blame you. If you work hard, and if you don't work hard, you need to stay home. You need to be in church. If you work all the time, I don't blame you when you can go off. And I don't ever get up here and beat up people because they're not in church. I understand you need a break, but we got a good attendance for a Labor Day weekend. Amen. And so we realize it's time to start another phase. 3 years, I never would have thought 3 years ago, Samantha, that I'd be standing here talking about building a sanctuary. You know, we came into this building, we had to rent a room upstairs, and I watched some of my saints come up to those steps, and I thought, the only way they're going to get any higher than this is through the rapture. Those steps, if you hadn't climbed those steps, they're tough. They're tough for young people. I mean, we need an escalator on them bad boys, or a stair lift or something. You know, they're pretty tough enough, but this is not going to work. It's just, it won't work. And, you know, the building was occupied with a dance studio down here, and they had a massage parlor in here, and they had an insurance company in here, and I thought, boy, you know, I just don't know if that building's going to work. It's a beautiful building, pretty place, but I don't know if it'll work out for us. I know it won't if we have to stay upstairs. But God opened the door for us to rent one section right back there. We started back there in that little section with 30-something people, and boy, we were just full in that one little room. And then we grew, and the rest of you came, and we rented another section. And then we rented another section. And we just decided we just buy this. And we're still dancing. There was an insurance company here, and I'll tell you, I'm still in good hands. There's a massage parlor here, and I'm still getting rubbed on every time I come. Miss Kim has bought me one of those to go to get my first massage for my birthday. My birthday's coming up, and she said, you need to go have that done. And I've done missed one appointment already. Because I hear they touch you in places you've never been touched before. I'm still trying to get my confidence up. So Lord, touch me. Touch me, Lord. So I don't have to be touched. Amen. Let's receive our tithing offering this morning. We do appreciate your faithfulness, and you can see where your money's going. I've been part of ministries when I thought, I don't know where the money's going. But you can see where the money's going here. In 3 years, we've purchased this building. We've purchased a van. We bought the land next door. We're on a schedule to have it paid off in 6 months, the land next door. And we're about to start a new building, and everything in the building's paid for. All the instruments, everything that we've got here is paid for. We got full-time missionaries in Guatemala that we support, keep on the mission field. So you see where your money's going. And so your money's not being wasted. And so we appreciate everything that you do to be able to keep this church to be the church it is. Amen. Brother Philip, would you pray this morning?
Lord, we love you so much this morning. We thank you that we're here to worship and praise you, Lord, that you are so worthy. We thank you, Lord, for what you're doing. We thank you, Lord, for what you're going to do. I pray, Lord, if you would touch us all and let it be used for your glory. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Pray.
Amen. Give this band another hand. They can wear it out. Amen. Our truck driver buddy gonna come sing for us this morning. Gonna sing one of them old Naomi Seagulls songs. Anybody remember Naomi?
Oh, yeah.
And everybody sing one of her songs. She was a great friend of ours in many years, and seen a picture of her this morning. She's now in a nursing home, and she sure has helped me in the years past to come to church and bless my church. And he's going to pull out one of them old ones and sing it this morning. Come on, brother.
Troubles come with me.
be satisfied with me. On the 16th, we'll be meeting here at 9 o'clock to eat. We'll be having our meeting at 9:30. Now, if you want to come, we need to know who's going to be eating. Because we don't want to, we're very conservative at this church. We don't want to prepare no more than what's going to be here. And we don't want to prepare, but surely we don't want to prepare none enough. Amen. So if you're going to be here for that meeting, you need to see Kim or Keisha. Don't see me. They won't do a bit of good. I won't remember. Somebody's got to remind me to come. Don't tell me to come. Amen. But see Samantha. See somebody that'll get the word back to Rick. You can see Rick. Rick's going to cook. Think he's going to draft Joey to maybe help him. They're going to cook. Them guys can cook now. Hewlin said, what if you're just eating what time you come? Hewlin's funny, ain't he? He's a funny guy sometimes. But we need to lay out this building, figure out where we're going to put it at, because we want to put the playground up. We've had right at $1,400 to be donated in honor of Patty to build what we're going to call Patty Ground. The last load that we brought some of the equipment over, she came with us that day. She wanted to come. She came with Iron and I. And I said, you want to stay home? She said, no, I'd like to go over there. And she came, she sat in the rocking chair. She wanted to see that playground for her kids, so.
Thank you, Jesus. Praise God.
We hope to do that soon. But we don't want to, we need to know where our building's going to go, so we don't just mess up, put the playground somewhere and we have to remove it. But we're looking forward to putting that together, and we're going to donate, dedicate to her memory. She loved kids. And speaking of kids, on the 10th is Grandparents' Day. And we want you to bring grandmother, and grandmother, we want you to bring your kids. Our kids are going to be performing. You remember the last time that they performed for us? They're going to be doing that again. They did an excellent job. And folks, Grandparent Day, that's ought to be the #1 holiday in America. And the reason they started that was as a reward system for not killing your kids. Yours ain't here, so you all here jumping up and down. Amen. Amen. Mike and Terry's going to be leaving us again for a month. They're going back to Alabama, the same church they were at, for a month. And the pastor's, he's a young whippersnapper, 89 years old, pastoring that church. And he needs a break again, and so they're going to be going back next Sunday, right, Mike? Amen.
Sunday's on.
Sunday's on. Y'all on Sunday on the people now.
Yeah.
But I hate but I'm glad they're going. Paul went and filled in for a pastor for a month down in Macon, and then that's what we do. We send out people. That's what this church is about. We're kingdom minded. Amen. We're about kingdom. Was Sunday before last. Cody went down to Macon. Was it Macon? McCray, Ellen. Helena. Wherever that's at.
I don't even know. Far away.
GPS. Yes. And he went and preached down there on a Sunday morning and Sunday night for God. And I love that we can help ministers.
That's right.
You know, and so that's what we're doing. We're sending out preachers. I want to tell you, we got a house full of preachers in this church. Amen. Amen. Well, let's get to the word this morning. Putting away childish things.
Amen. Thank God. Amen. Yeah, amen.
Thank you, Cody. Putting away childish things. The church at Corinth could have been the greatest church that had ever existed. I want to give you just a little bit of history on it. This is what Paul the Apostle said about the church. He said, you don't come behind in any gifts. You know, there's many of you have been involved in church, and some of you, this is the only church you've been involved in. And we have spiritual gifts that operate in this church. But can you imagine being part of a body of believers that every gift known to mankind is in that church in operation? Can you imagine belonging to a church where the gift of miracles are in existence? Paul said you don't lack anything concerning spiritual gifts. Every gift is in operation. The fivefold ministry. Everything that they needed to be the greatest church that ever existed was in the church at Corinth. And yet Paul's writing a letter to them and telling them you're acting like babies. You're childish. And so it's kind of frightening that we could operate in spiritual gifts and still not be what God wants us to be.
That's right.
You could have tongues and interpretation, and you could have the gift of prophecy and still be a big crybaby.
Come on.
I'm just telling you what Paul said. Don't get mad at me. I'm just delivering the mail. I didn't write the bill out. Don't get mad at me. I'm just telling you what he said. Look with me in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse number 11. This is what Paul is saying concerning himself. Paul said, I was a child. We've all been a child. Every one of us have been. Some still are.
Come on, preach, brother.
And Paul said, now when I was a child, I spoke as a child. My understanding, I understood as a child. My thoughts were like children. They were childish. I thought as a child. But
Amen. Come on now.
I didn't stay like that now.
Come on.
Preach, brother.
When I became a man, when I became grown, mature, I put away childish things.
Yes.
Amen. Amen.
Paul let this church know that childish behavior was not becoming of a Christian.
Amen.
Paul addresses it. He says, now listen, I know you got spiritual gifts. I know there's the spiritual gifts. All 9 of them operate in that church. On any service that you go to, you're going to see maybe all 9 gifts in operation. Wow. That's what I wanted to see all my life, Brother Cullen.
Yes.
I wanted to be a part of a body of believers where everything that God said they could be, they were.
Yeah, that's right.
To belong to an assembly, a fellowship, where the gifts are available, gifts are in operation. And yet Paul points out to them quickly that your behavior is not the behavior of a mature Christian.
Come on now, preach.
Paul lets the church know that you're childish. He said, there are some childish things that we as believers need to be outgrowing.
Yes.
Amen. Come on.
You need to be outgrowing some of these behaviors.
Amen.
You know, when you've got a 2-year-old, the terrible twos. Some of you young people are headed that way. I love being yesterday I took my 2 granddaughters. I picked them up. We went out to eat, and then we went to the toenail and nail place. And yes, sir. I let them pick out the color, and I thought, oh God, I hope their mama's old. I wouldn't have picked out either one of those colors, but I let my religious spirit at home. And I said, we'll deal with mama when we get there. You know, but then they picked out what colors they wanted. They did their fingers and they did their toes, and then we left there and went to Cherry Berry and bought ice cream that was too much. And then they wanted to come to my house. They didn't want to go home. They wanted to come to my house. So I took them home with me. Carried them back last night, but before I could get them home, they had to eat again. They were starving to death. But I don't know if they was going to even survive. But they're children, and they're growing up. And Paul said that the church at Corinth still has some childish behavior. And there's believers that are very childish.
Amen.
And even though you may have gifts in your life, even though you might be in the ministry, Paul points out to them, now he pointed out, you don't lack nothing concerning spiritual gifts. Wouldn't that be a compliment if someone say to you, you don't lack anything? I do not know, Brother Mike, I've never known a person that I thought operated in all 9 gifts. I've known people that's operating great gifts. Great gifts. Gifts of healing, gifts of miracles, gifts of prophecy. But Paul never knew a man that operated in every gift there was. And then Paul, the apostle, makes it clear that this church operates in every gift. The church at Corinth was a spiritual church, but still lacked spiritual maturity. Is that possible for us?
Yeah.
I mean, could we shout all over this church and jump over these chairs? And I mean, we look very spiritual, but when we get home, we're very immature.
That's right. Come on.
Paul gets right down to business, and I like that. I don't like that beating around the bush and all. Just get right down to it. What'd you call me for? Don't tell me all that. Just tell me what you want. Paul gets right down to business with the church. In chapter number 1, he in verse number 10, he tells them, he said, now, I plead with you, brother. I mean, he's pleading with them. I mean, he's begging them. He's pouring his heart out to them. And he said, I'm doing this by the name of Jesus Christ, that you all speak the same thing, that there be no division among you, but that you be perfectly joined together in the same mind and the same judgment. Now, you don't lack anything concerning spiritual gifts. You don't lack anything in ministry. And verse number 11 is not going to be on your screen. Paul says to them, he says, I know that there's contention among you. How could contention, how could strife, how could envy survive in such a spiritual church? You think there's no possible way. If we had all 9 gifts working in this church, we had the fivefold ministry in this church, surely the anointing would be strong enough that you wouldn't have division, you wouldn't have contention, you wouldn't have chaos, you wouldn't have backbiting, you wouldn't have gossiping, you wouldn't have tattletelling, you wouldn't have all these things. But Paul says, you don't lack nothing concerning spiritual gifts, but there is contention among you.
Come on.
And the sad thing is, the contention is not over worldly things. Now, I can see folks, Brother Greg, arguing over worldly things coming into the church. But Paul said, that's not where your problem is. He said, you're not arguing over worldly things, but over water baptism. The church is about to split. This church who lacks no spiritual gifts, this church who's had the greatest pastors that's ever existed, this church who's wealthy and wise and has all knowledge that don't lack anything, is about to divide and split over who baptized who. Can you believe a church that has a praise team that brings down the glory every Sunday could split over what color the nursery is? No, you hadn't been to church over a week, have you? Is it possible that a church that has an upper room where they have prayer meetings and they have people that love God and people that walk in spiritual gifts and people that operates under their anointing, and the church divide over a dinner? You must not been to church very much. You haven't seen everything yet. You're new to this thing. Oh boy, you got a ride to ride yet. Paul said, you're arguing over baptism. Some of you say, Paul baptized me. That makes me the elite because Paul put me down in the water. And another said, well, Cephas baptized me. And another says, Apollos baptized me. And they're arguing over who put who down in the water. Do you really think it matters who performs the ceremony? What matters is that you were baptized into Christ. I think the guy that did Patty and I's wedding, can you cut me off for just a second? No, you don't have to. I better not even say that. We were married 37 years. I don't think he ever got married because it wasn't legal in that day. Oh. That's all I'm going to say about that. It doesn't matter who does the ceremony. It doesn't matter who who did the wedding, honey. I mean, you could got Billy Graham to marry you, but if the commitment's not there, it doesn't matter who does the ceremony. And Paul said, you mean to tell me that there's division in the church and you're about to split when you've got the most spiritual people in the church? I mean, can you imagine walking into a church where people operate in the gift of prophecy? I mean, they can foretell things that's going to happen. There's people that can lay hands on you and you're instantly healed. Miracles. Not healed. Miracles operate in that church. And Paul said, you mean to tell me you're going to split this church over who baptized you? And Paul said, now listen, I don't recall baptizing any of you. Maybe a couple of you, but I didn't baptize any of you. The Lord didn't call me to do water baptism, but it's causing a division in the church because you're saying one minister was more important than the other minister.
Come on.
You're carnal, Paul said. You're carnal when you divide the ministry of the church up. When at Christ Community, we have different ministries in this church. We are all different in our delivery. Cody preached Wednesday night. I turn around, I hear a scream in the back. A flip-flop hits me in the back of the head. and I turn around, and it's Cheryl. And God is pouring out His Spirit upon her, and she's rejoicing. Now, I could have said, she ain't never did that when I preached. Terry, a couple Wednesday nights ago, delivered a great message. And boy, I got home on Facebook, and Facebook was lit up. Everybody telling Terry, man, that was wonderful. That was wonderful. And people was talking about, her message of being easy offended, and it hit a note with people. And I could have said, well, I probably said those same things. Maybe not just like it, but close to it. Didn't nobody say nothing about it on Facebook. This great church, folks, was about to divide what they had over trying to compare each other's ministries.
Come on.
The worst thing you can do, listen to me, is to say, I enjoy Pastor Steve over Pastor Cody, or I prefer Cody over Ronnie, or I prefer Ronnie over Mike, or I prefer Mike over Terry. When you begin to compare that, because see, every one of us come that we might minister to you, and we might minister to you in a different way. The way I say it might not be the way Ronnie says it, but God gives Ronnie something that they didn't give me, and He brings it in a different style, maybe, but He ministers to the body. Paul said, you carnal Christians, you're trying to tear this church down by trying to compare who baptized who and what ministers the best. The worst thing a church can do is start trying to pull ministers apart. Oh, I like Cody. Oh, I like Mike. I like Steve. I like Paul. I like Ronnie. I like Laurel. This is my favorite. We don't have no favorites in this church. Us ministers will not allow the body to divide the body. We are ministers together for the Lord Jesus Christ, and we won't allow it in this church. It's carnal. It's carnal if you try to divide us. We're not in competition with each other. We're on the same team. Cody preached the house down, and I told him, when I got home, I sent him a note, a message. I said, man, you preached the house down. I stood back there as like a proud father. I was proud of him. Wednesday night, a week ago, Brother Mike brought a great message, and I was proud that he done that. And I'm working with these ministers, not against these ministers. We are on the same team. Paul said the worst thing you can do is to divide the ministries. We're ministers together. And when you vocalize or express your opinion of your favorite, like the Corinthians, that's what they're doing. Paul baptized me.
Come on.
Apollos. Well, Apollos, that joker could speak. I'm not even going to try to mimic him. Because he didn't say things like mom and them. He didn't use mama at all. He mother. I mean, this guy could speak, folks. Oh, he was polished. This guy was sharp. He was the most educated one out of the group. And Cephas, boy, to be able to say, Cephas baptized me, boy, I mean, he's a bad dude. He's a man's man. He's a preacher. That's my favorite. Paul said, you don't realize you're doing. And let me tell you, it's not just a ministry, it's in song service too.
Amen. Amen.
But I prefer to hear so-and-so sing. I do too, but I like vanilla ice cream, but I don't want it every day.
Amen.
I went with them girls. I didn't know you paid by the ounce. That Cherry Mary mess. I didn't know. That's my first trip. I bet my last one. I don't know. But man, you know, you just go through that line. There's everything there. I mean, they got pecans and chocolate, and you just help yourself. I thought, boy, this is glorious. Hallelujah. I didn't know when you got to the end, you put it on the scales. Woman said 49 cents an ounce. Oh my God, we're not buying diamonds, we're buying ice cream here. But when we divide and we as childish, when we make our favorite, when we say, well, Cindy's my favorite singer, or Candace is my favorite singer, when we bring, you don't realize it brings division. The devil is only looking for an inch to get in. He's only looking for a place. And when the body, listen folks, we can be the greatest church in all of Monroe County, and somebody can come up here and says, well, who's preaching tonight? If Cody's not preaching, I'm not coming. If the pastor's not preaching, I don't want to be here. You don't probably need to be here in this church, period. You need to find you a carnal church like you are and leave us alone. Because you're crossing division among the ministries.
Amen.
Children don't know how to control their feelings.
Lord,
That's right.
You know, they don't know how to control their feelings at all, and so they express themselves. And see, when you hear people that like the Corinthians they showed their immaturity in trying to cause division. But I like the way Kim does that PowerPoint. I don't like the way Leanne does it. I'd rather have Leanne taking up my car than have Keisha taking up my car. You know what it shows? It's showing everybody just how big a crybaby you are. You're not impressing us. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to split their mustache to get a pacifier in their mouth. I can handle them little bitty what's them little baby diapers called? Pampers. I was right. But them pull-ups things now. You know, when it says 19 to 20 pounds, y'all take it serious. I got a problem. I don't mind. I would go in there in the nursery if I had to, and I hope I don't have to. God don't test me on this, but if I have to, if I really had to, if there wasn't nobody else. There's not a person in this building left. I would go in there and help change those diapers. But you know what? It's tough changing adult diapers. And I don't mind changing adult diapers on the disabled. But when you got big old babies, it's always pooping their britches over every little thing. It gets aggravating when you have to spend most of your ministry. You can't win new souls because you're wiping little baby Christian's tail all the time. See, children don't know how to control their feelings, but grown-up folks knows how to keep their feelings to themselves. You know what James said, the half-brother of Jesus, in chapter 1, verse 26? He said, those who consider themselves to be religious and yet do not keep a tight rein on their tongue deceive themselves. And their religion is worthless. It's in vain. It's not worth anything. Listen, when you run your mouth about who's the best minister, who's the best singer, who's the best musician, who's the best kids church worker, you just show us your level of maturity.
Right.
That's all you're doing. When you can't wait to get on that phone. Boy, Pete got a little loud. I don't like it when Pete plays. And I wish so-and-so would play. You know what? It doesn't make Pete look bad. It makes you look bad, dum-dum. Oh, we're going to grow up. We're 3 years old. I'm telling you what, it's time to get potty trained. You ain't going to kindergarten. I'm not coming up every day changing your diaper. We're 3 years old today. know you suck on it so much.
Preach, Pastor. Come
Anybody
on.
love it? Cody, you still with me? All right. Being able to control your tongues and feelings and emotion is a true sign of maturity. And folks don't care how you can speak in tongues, you can prophesy, you can shout all over this church, but when you can't wait to get home and blast somebody on Facebook, you don't impress me with your spirituality. Brother Joy, the first thing that comes to my mind is, I wonder if that prophecy was real. I wonder if that shout was real. I wonder if they were sincere when they sung. See, when you get on the Facebook or you can't wait to get in the parking lot, some of you don't even get that far. You don't even get back to the back of the church. He didn't shake my hand. He didn't say nothing about my hair. He didn't say nothing about my shoes. I was waiting on you to say something about my hair. I was waiting on you to say something about my shoes. I was waiting on you to give me a compliment. Oh, you little house hot plant. You're never going to be able to take the heat, and the heat's coming. It's time the church be the redeemed of the Lord, and for us to say so, we need to quit whining and crying and grow up and be the people that God called us to be and do what God called us to do, and quit crying and backbiting and gossiping and being a bunch of crybabies. No wonder the Buddhists don't believe in us. No wonder the Muhammad don't have anything, no feelings for. No wonder that the Arab says we're fake, because we kill our wounded. My God, it's time for the church to be the house of God, a place of prayer. And it's time we stand and be the people, not tearing down one another, but lifting up each other. Let's grow up. Let's grow up today. In chapter 2, Paul moves right on. Paul addresses the church concerned over worldly wisdom and spiritual wisdom. We display just how mature spiritually we are by how much we're able to tell the difference between people who are talented and who are anointed. Somebody can come straight out of the club. Club pays him $200 to play on Saturday night.
Come on.
He hadn't talked to Jesus since Easter.
Come on.
And the closest he got then was a bunny. He didn't know if it was an Easter bunny or play bunny. He just knew it was a bunny. He comes up on the platform and he sings a song, and people, it's a shame that our church doesn't know the difference between talent and anointed. I know some of you are talented. And you don't understand. You say, well, preacher didn't shout when I sung. Didn't nothing move me, honey. I just wasn't moved by. If I want talent, I can cut on the radio.
Amen.
And now there's a few times I wish some of you were on the radio. I could turn you off. Listen, you may be able to sing as good as the next person, but I need to remind you, this is not an American Idol. This is the house of God. Talent doesn't break yoke. Anointing does. We're not looking for talent on this platform. We're looking for somebody that prayed last night and said, God, it's my turn to sing in the morning, and Lord, I want the anointing of the Holy Ghost to be on my life, because somebody may come that's bound. I want the anointing to break that yoke. God, I want to do it for your glory. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be heard. I want you to be seen. I want you to be heard. And let me tell you, there's some of us, honey, that knows the difference between performance and a move of God.
That's right.
Grow up, grow up, grow up, grow up. Time to grow up. I know some of you thinking, they should have been here today. Don't say that. Keep it to yourself. Show maturity. Did you ever have a kid in your community that just tattletale on everybody? Did you want to thump them on the head? Mama, Cody got my ball bat. I guess we all known that. And you know, you still see it. You school teachers see it. Oh, I mean, everything I have. Oh, they got my pencil. They got my paper. They got my seat. They moved my Bible. I move it every week, honey. A lot of times I put it over on that table.
Preach, Pastor. You preaching this morning. Come on now.
Thank you. Grown kids don't tattle, do they?
Sure don't.
They gossip. Gossip is the grown version of tattling. You little tattletale bunch, you never grew up. All you did was quit tattling on everybody and started gossiping. But you're still the same old annoying little brat that you were when you was a kid. You just wear bigger bloomers is all. Kids are envious of each other. The grown-up version is jealousy. Ah, you're not jealous of one another. No. And you speak in tongues. But you're still jealous of one another. You know what the Bible says? Prefer your brother over yourself. Oh, God, anoint my brother while he's preaching. Anoint my sister while she's singing. Oh, Lord, touch these people that's working in kids ministry this morning. Because God, some of them's my kids. And I know what they're up against. God, they need a double portion of the Holy Ghost this morning. Help them, Jesus. Paul told the Corinthians, I want to feed you meat. Here's the greatest man, when you agree, Brother Mike, in the New Testament outside Jesus Christ. He's the greatest man that ever lived. Brother Ronnie, he penned half the New Testament.
That's right.
Every church has started, he started. Here's a man that says, I came to give you meat, but I couldn't. I don't know who I would consider the greatest preacher in the world today. I don't know if I have one. But can you imagine us receiving a letter, Brother Tim, to this church, addressed to this church, to the body of believers here, it says, I wanted to come. God had spoke to me, gave me a word for you, but I knew y'all wasn't ready to receive it. God had gave me vision and revelation and insight, but I know you're not ready because, see, y'all still fussing over, it's too hot, it's too loud, it's too long. Too many praise team don't turn into a choir. It's all female. What's wrong with it? Ain't got no male. I don't guess. I don't know. But I'm happy with it. It's fine. It's good. Everything's great. But see, what if we received a letter from a powerful man of God that says, I was praying and God showed me the build and showed me how you can do outreach, showing you how you can draw hundreds of people here. But I can't share that with you because you're not ready, because you're mad over who's keeping the nursery. Woo! Say to the team, get ready. TD Jakes, get ready. Amen. Say to the team, be ready. Amen. Pull your guns. Everybody's got a gun. Go ahead. Put a bullet in it. Oh, you may be able to sing great, but you ain't got that anointing, you ain't going to get the job done. See, Paul tells his church, he said to you, you're spiritual. And he said, I wanted to bring meat to you. He said, but you're still sucking on bottles. Now, this blows my mind. How is it possible that a church, this is what Paul said. He said, you lack nothing in spiritual gifts. Is it possible that I can have all 9 spiritual gifts and be the biggest baby in the church? Oh, I'm telling you, I'm not a transfer. I've been Pentecostal all my life. And I want to tell you, I've seen folks that would shout the bobby pins out their head. Whoa, you talking about me? Me, I'm talking about meaner than a junkyard dog mean. I'm talking about you better not, they will fuss you out one side and down the other in tongues. And jabber, whatever. Most time I've got an interpretation. Paul said, I want to bring you meat. Is it possible God's trying to put a prophet in my life to speak to me, but I can't hear him. He can't speak to me because I'm still sucking on bottles. I'm still behaving like a child because it can't be all my way. See, spoiled kids thinks everything's about them.
Amen. Right.
That's my toy. That's my pudding. That's mine. That's mine. See, the grown-up version is, I don't come there to serve. I come to be served. Paul told them they should have been servants. Paul said that you ought to be at a place in your life that you're ministering. And yet you still need to be ministered to. I told you when we started this church that after 3 years, if I hadn't been able to get some of you to grow, I'm going to have to let you go. We're at that place, we're going to need your chair. And if I can't help you, you don't need to be here. It's hot here today. I don't know about y'all, but it's because some of you sucking up all this air. And if you're not going to grow up, shut up, and stand up, and act right, you need to just get on down the road. Paul said there comes a time in your life that you don't keep coming to that same church for the church to serve you. You need to be growing up and be ministering yourself. You need to be doing something. You need to be serving the body there. And you need to be giving up your chair for somebody else. And if you have to stand up, honey, I know it's going to hurt some of you, but I come to tell you, this church ain't all about you. It's about Jesus, Him crucified. Then, I got to move quickly. Got to get you out of here by sometime today. Chapter 4, he moves right on. He tells him, you're all puffed up. You're all mad. I bet it was hard to speak in tongues when you lived. Brother Ronnie, the book says they come behind in no spiritual gifts. Every gift known to man operates in that church. And Paul says, you're carnal. Greg, how in the world if that church is carnal, my God, don't write us no letters.
Bless him, Lord.
Softball season's been over 2 months and we're still fighting over who played second base. Well, that's a sore spot. I'll leave that alone. Forget I said anything about the softball team. I tell you what, if we can't have a softball team that loves Jesus and can still be saved after the game, we won't be having no more softball games in this church. I'm telling you, if you can't be a Christian and play ball, maybe you don't need to play ball. Go ahead, and I hope you're listening to me by the way of internet. If you can't come to church on Sunday because your team got their tail spanked on Friday night or Saturday, you might need to quit watching college and high school ball, because if you love that more than you do Jesus, something's wrong with you. He used to bother me. I started pulling from Alabama, so I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, I said it. I said it. I got the cap right now. I'll see how it goes. I'm glad Joseph's not here. He'd had to get baptized. Paul said to them, he said, you're puffed up. And this is why you're mad. He said, you're all angry. You're all upset. You won't speak. You're fierce at one another. And the reason you're mad is because I can't come to you right now. You're so spiritual. You got every gift. You got powerful preachers. You got all this. But you're mad because I'm tied up. I'm over here getting beat. I'm in prison. Getting bit by serpents. They left me in the graveyard for dead. And you're mad because I can't come right now to you. Well, I was having one of them things took out of my fingers. What do you call them? Things come in. Hangnail. I was having a hangnail removed. It was outpatient surgery. But the pastor didn't come. Matter of fact, we got about 8 preachers in the church. Did none of them come? Oh, how I love Jesus. I don't like nobody in the church. Paul said, you're all mad and puffed up because I can't come to you right now. And then 2 verses later he says to them, what I want to do is use a rod on some of you. You said, I'd like to go to church where Paul the Apostle's a pastor. Paul said, I'd take a stick and beat the devil out of some of you. That's what he said in chapter 4, verse 21. He said, when I come, this is what I want to do. I want to bring a rod with me, and I want to tear some of your spiritual tails up because you're acting like little babies. You're all puffed up over things that don't mean a hill of beans. Some of you are mad over a football game lost. Some of you are mad because somebody's sitting where you used to sit. Somebody's mad because you didn't get to sing, or you didn't get to do this, or get to do that, or nobody spoke to you. You don't need nobody speaking to you. You need to be out there every Sunday morning shaking hands with people and saying, we're glad to have you at Christ Community Church. I shouldn't have to ask you. There ought to be half of you ought to be standing out there welcoming new people. Listen, we're 3 years old. It's time we grow up and quit getting our little lips all puffed out, getting our little feelings hurt. It's time to crucify your feelings. Be filled with the Spirit of God, and let's grow up today. See, a kid thinks they're the only kid in the room.
That's right.
Let me tell you what the grown-up version is this. I want your undivided attention.
That's right.
Jesus.
I come first.
That's right.
Jesus.
Chapter 5, he moves on. Paul says, you're puffed up and mad over little things. But there's a member in your church that's got his daddy's wife and sleeping with her. First thing comes to mind, what how old she was. But daddy got him a young girl. I guess mama died. Something happened to mama. Daddy got him a young girl and brought her home. And dad got his sons done beat his time. But they're all still going to the same church. Ever praise is too hard. And Paul said, you're mad about me not coming, but you ain't mad about this boy sleeping with his stepmama? That don't bother none of you that the man is sleeping with his stepmama and sitting. Daddy's sitting over on the other side. He needs a miracle. I need anointing oil poured on me. My son over there sleeping with my wife, his mama. That don't make you mad? You're mad about I'm tired of and can't get to you, and you're mad at me, but you're not getting mad about that kind of foolishness that's going on in the house of God. A man sleeping with his stepmama, she's still married to his daddy, and he's sleeping with her, and everybody knows it, but you don't get upset about that. Am I still on? Paul said you need to be upset over sin.
That's right.
But you're more upset about the singing. Oh, I've had people that got upset about it was too loud. I'm not coming back. I don't know those new songs. I'm not coming back. I don't like the old songs. I'm not coming back. You got mad over singing, but you didn't get mad over Adam and Steve. You didn't. That didn't bother you. Well, you got to be open-minded. Your mind's so open, everything's falling out, honey. Paul said, you got mad. Over me not coming, and you get mad about someone not shaking your hand, but this guy's sleeping with his stepmama, and they're members in your church, and probably being used as spiritual gifts. And you don't say nothing to them. Wow. You get mad about the stupidest stuff.
That's right.
Come on.
See, I remember when I was a kid, we were told to act like adults. Your mom and dad ever tell you that? School teacher ever tell you that? Bus driver? See, I grew up where everybody could whoop you. Daddy would send up, we'd go to somebody's house, Daddy said, whip them like they're yours. Oh my God, don't tell them. You don't know them people. People might be psycho. That might be the only reason I'm getting to go. They I killed their kids and you don't tell them whoop me like that. The bus driver he had a paddling on the bus. He would stop the bus. Oh, this is before there. I wish we didn't. I don't know about defects now. You know, they always show up too late and don't do what they'll do, and bother people they shouldn't be bothering. Well, I'm not going there. I'm not talking about Department of Family and Children's Services. I'm talking about Paul the Apostle. That's what I'm talking about. But the bus driver could spank you. The teacher could spank you. Anybody could wear you out. I remember my mom and dad and people telling me, you need to act like adults. Have you noticed lately how adults are acting? See, growing up is a mystery. Because you really don't ever grow up. Because the more you grow up, the more you realize how much more growing up you need to do.
That's right.
And if you don't realize you need to do some growing, you probably have already stopped. See, the closer you get to God, you know what you realize? Just how far you are away.
That's right.
If you think you're arrived, you think you're everything you need to be, honey, you quit growing a long time ago. Because the closer you get to that light, the more darkness you can see. Maturing as a believer requires you let go of what you were used to move on with something you're not used to. You can't grow and do the same things. God is shaking some of you loose from even things that were good for things that are great.
Hallelujah.
God is shaking some of you loose of things that were good to give you things that are great.
That's right.
You've got to be willing to turn loose of those things. Hey, there was nothing no greater than a bottle. But let me tell you, there was nothing no greater before the bottle, Mama. But Mama, when Mama finally said, you got to stop that, son. You can't be doing that no more, boy. Not especially when you stand up and do it. You can't. Come on, son. Oh. And then he thinks everybody's mama. That little boy in kids' church, he'd be like a calf. He'd be hitting you. Paul said, some of you still on the bottle. You're not growing up. And he said, you're not maturing. And see, part of growing up is realizing who you need in your life and who you don't need.
That's right.
And taking responsibility of your choices is the first step in growing up and becoming a mature believer. Maturity as a believer requires that you let go of some things. Folks, you can't grow up doing the same things. You know, you got to let go. You got to let go of that pacifier. You got to let go of that bottle. You got to let go of that baby food. And if you're going to grow up, and we're 3 years old here today, and I'm not going to give you baby food anymore. Some of you came in, and I realize you've never been in church, but you've been in church a while now, and I'm not going to shun you. I'm going to preach to you. It's time for you to start being able to eat the meat of God's Word. It's time for you to understand spiritual things. It's time for you to look like you're going to church.
Amen.
Just like there's stages in a physical life, there's stages in a spiritual life. And many of us seem to think that a babe in Christ should act like a grandmother Christian. But there's stages. But just because you're a babe in Christ don't mean you stay there. You know, I see these little babies coming here. Boy, they just little bitty things. Brandy's baby. Boy, it got a slow start in life. It was just a little bitty thing. But now, boy, it just watches me while I preach, and it's growing. And it's maturing. And it won't be long. It'll be just running all over this church. And because he's going through different stages in his life. Folks, I can't let you just keep coming here and you were the same thing, act the same way, or the same person you were 3 years ago. You and I need to depart.
That's right.
I'm not good for you. You're not good for me.
Amen.
If you're not going to grow up and serve in this church and find a place to work, you just can't come here. Just keep sucking up the air, throw $1 in every 2 weeks, and us feed you every week, and you're not growing. I had old Sal Hogg like that one time. That hog could eat the farm up, would never gain a pound. My daddy finally said, "You're going to kill her." I said, "Dad, I ain't going to kill that hog." He said, "You're going to have to kill her." He said, "We can't. That hog eats more than everything on this farm, and it's not after a year later, it's just as poor looking as it was when you got that heifer. You're going to kill her." So see, I learned to deal with hogs before I started pastoring. Musicians, come on. I got this. Go ahead. I'm not going to get finished, but I better stop while I'm ahead. The first sign a child is growing is they change their diet.
Amen. Amen.
You know, I remember when my Jacob was born, and my mom and dad kept him, and you know, Patty, she was by the books. I mean, if it said 12 months, it was 12 months. It wasn't 11 months and 29 days. It was all 12 months. If that book says you feed that baby food for 12 months, Ronnie, Patty's going to do it for 12 months. We came home. Jacob sitting in the high chair, eating mashed potatoes with gravy. Daddy said, "He don't like that old junk that you seen in that bottle. He won't eat that old stuff." I thought, no, not after what he'd been eating here at this house. He ain't going back to that. You know that. Once they taste real food.
That's it.
God, I wish some of you taste some real food. Oh my God, I wish some of you would quit sucking the bottle. Oh, amen. If you pull up the table, put your feet under the master's table and begin to eat of the Word of God. Be filled with the Holy Ghost. Be filled with the power of Jesus. Oh, and grow up and be the man and the woman of God that God wants you to be this morning. Amen. Oh, and be filled and do what God called you to do. I'm telling you, folks, stand with me all over this building this morning. Amen. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Still some notes in there, but I'll sing for another time. 3 years old. Today, Labor Day weekend, the house is full. But I have to ask this question. And I boast on church. I was talking to someone from Abundant Life that's part of the praise worship team over there last night, and I told them I was bragging on this church. I brag on this church to everybody. I love this church more than any church I've ever been involved in, even as a kid. In my home church as a kid. I've never been involved with anything that I love like this, like you people, like this church. It's the greatest ministry I've ever been a part of. And we've grown. It's just miraculous what's taking place here in 3 years. To be able to own this building, to have this land paid for in just another 6 months. Here we are, if we start pulling the tape out, Brother Rick and measuring where the new sanctuary is going to go. Brother Paul, you know what? I could see us shouting on the ground before the concrete was ever poured. Then to pull it out and say, you know what? This right here, preachers, are where we're going to stand at. We're going to look out and it's not going to be a real deep church. We want a wide church. We don't want people way back there where I can't see them and these preachers can't see them. And we're tired of people talking in the back. So we want to make it like me, short and wide. About 4 rows of people, we can just see them. Brother Tony, that'd make the sound better too, won't it? You know, when everybody's up closer. Because it's hard to get the sound just right way back here in the back. So we're going to have a little short, fat church. But we're going to pull the tape on it. We're going to see. And I've never seen anything like this to experience the growth that we have in this place. And I can only imagine if everybody gets in their positions. There's no jealousy of ministries. There's no jealousy on this platform. And all you girls, you know, y'all scare me when it's an all-female choir. Because some of you are really good. God forbid that somebody says you are, that one of you are, because some of you other ladies might be having hot flashes, cold flashes, blinker, blinker, I don't know, having something wrong that day, going through this, coming through that, been through that, and having one of them mood swings, and y'all nobody never tell me that. But we just thought you had reached a place of maturity. You didn't need that.
That's right.
See, they still need that. They're still a babe. And I don't know how many times I told my grandbabies yesterday I love them. But they needed that. They needed Paul to tell them that yesterday. But you know, I don't have to tell grown-up folks 100 times a day you love them. I told you that this morning. I changed my mind, I'll tell you. But see, we might treat newcomers come in. Boy, I mean, we smother them with love. We meet them at the door. We shake their hand. We just treat them. But after you've been here for a while, you need to be doing people that way. You become part of the family. But can you imagine if we accomplish what we have in 3 years? My concern is, are we growing spiritually as we are physically? For what good have we done if we build a sanctuary over there that holds 400 or 500 people and it's filled every Sunday to capacity? And we have some of the greatest sound, some of the greatest music, we have some of the greatest ministry, we have great kids' church program, but nobody's growing spiritually.
That's right.
The drunkard is still drunk.
That's right.
The addict is still an addict. The sinner is still sinning. And now he feels like his sin is acceptable because nobody said that to him 2 years ago. He's been in church so long, he's never been saved, never been baptized, but now he holds a position because he never got saved, but we just took it for granted that he was saved because we don't have a measuring stick that we measure spiritual maturity. We will not be a church that just grows in number. There's enough of them already. There's enough. You passed 12 churches to get here today. We have to grow spiritually, just like we have. And I feel like I met with a minister friend of mine for lunch Thursday. He asked me a question and I couldn't answer. I said, I'll have to get back with you on that. I'm not ready to answer that question. This is what he asked me. He said, has your ministry changed since Patty died? I said, yeah, it has. I said, because there's not much now that people can come to me and say, I've been through, that I couldn't look at and say, I know what you're going through. I said, I know what it is to lose the closest thing in your life. I know what it is to have children that rebel against the church. There's not much that I don't know about now. He said, do you feel like you're preaching different? I said, I think I am. I think I'm preaching different. He said, do you feel like you're going to walk in a greater anointing than you've ever walked in? I said, yeah, I do. I believe that. He said, is it worth the price then? He said, because you could have never been what you are, staying the way you were. He said, you could have never had the compassion that you have on people without going through what you've been through. You could have never understood what people are going through unless you went through it. You can read all the books you want, but it's not the same as experiencing it. He said, so you think paying the price is going to be worth it? I said, I'm at a point in my life I can't answer that right now. Because what I'd like to have was her in all those things. He said, but maybe you couldn't have had both. Are you willing to pay that price? You know, I wasn't given an option. And I'd hate to think that I paid that price and still didn't see a move of God. I'd hate to say that I've been through what I've been through and didn't see no change spiritually in the church. There's a price to grow. You've heard the preacher say you need to read your Bible, you need to pray. You've heard all those things. Folks, let me tell you, you need to. God's looking for folks today. We're 3 years old here at Christ Community Church. We're about to move into our 4th year. We're right on schedule with what I've asked God for us to be at 3 years. We're right on schedule. I never dreamed a year ago, Paul, when I was out there on that old tractor, old Ralph videoing it, running that mouth. Drop the bucket! I saw it this morning. I saw it on Facebook. That it was a reminder. It's on your page, Ralph, me driving that old tractor out there. I never dreamed when I was driving that tractor I'd be standing here alone. I didn't know that I'd be here in my life like this. And we have grown, and we're still growing. This is, you know, if everybody that came, that belongs and calls this their church comes, we're at 275 people in 3 years. That belongs to this church, that have joined this church. 275 people has joined this church as we started membership. But are we growing spiritually? Are you growing spiritually? Are we helping you? Is this church helping you to reach maturity? Starting today, we're not going to put up with your nonsense.
That's right.
I didn't like a tattletale when I was a kid, and I think just as much as a gossiper. I despise gossip. It shows you're just an immature Christian. I don't care if you have gifts in your life. I don't care if you raised the dead. You're still just a little spoiled brat. If you continue to tear down the ministry, comparing one another, trying to divide the preachers. God's looking for people today that says, God, I want to be everything that I can be. Bow your heads with me, Father. We bow our heads in thanks today. For 3 years on top of this hill, we see the hand of God. These things that has happened could only be because of you. You gave the increase. You brought these ministers here, these musicians, and all these good people to make up a great church. And Father, maybe I have been a little hard this morning, but like Paul said, the next time I come, I want my speech to be different. Lord, I have to be the daddy of this church. These other ministers, they get to do things different. And I'm glad. I don't want to whip them every time I come. But I got to be the daddy of this church. And Lord, when I see that things are not right, I have to be the head, and I have to, God, be the disciplinary in this church. But you send me men and women, God, that I think sometimes, why didn't I think about that? I never saw that before, and I thank God for the ministers that you have put beside me. Not under me, but beside me, to minister to this church, and this whole body can become equipped and grow and be mature. Father, we look forward to next year, our 4th year. Oh God, we've been in the year of Trinity. And God, we're moving in, God, to a different dispensation of time in our 4th year. God, this is the year, next year is a year of leadership. It is a year of government. It's the year of putting people in positions in order. And God, we've got to get ready, because a move of God's coming, a revival's coming, and hundreds of people. This is going to be a revival center, and people are going to come, and God, great things are going to happen. But God, we've got to get people positioned, and it's got to happen in this year. We got to train the staff. The staff's got to train the people. Lord, I thank you for everybody you sent to me. I thank you for every leader that you sent to me, every worker that you sent to me. I'm looking forward, God, and it's cost me a lot to be here today. But God, the price will be worth it. If souls can be saved because I'm changed, if souls can be saved because I'm compassionate, then that's the cross, God. As my beloved wife would say it, that's the cross that you have me to bear. And God, let me bear it with others. God bless our church. Bless this fellowship. We don't want to be like other people. We want to be the church of the Bible. In Jesus' name I pray. I want to do something quickly before we close. It's just 10 minutes after 12 if you need to take medicine. I'm going to ask my ministers. And let me tell you something. If you keep the nursery, this girl, let me tell you, I've been to churches where kids run all up and down the aisle while you're trying to preach, and you're thinking, my God, somebody snatched that little heathen up and bust. No, leave him alone. Whoop his mama. Preachers, you know, you've been to churches, haven't you, where just chaos, you couldn't even, you know, if that's happening, you guys can't sing, we can't preach. So man, ministry starts on Sunday morning. Those guys out there, and Paul Shelton, you guys, man, Randy, I appreciate you. You know, someone's welcomed into this building, but we need some more people. You know, we need some more people that's got a smile. If you're an old grumpy cuss, just come on in, sit down. We need some smiling faces. Smiling faces. Go on. Oh my! You know what Mike's letting us go away to church. He changes his station when he gets up the driveway. Series. But we need some more smiling face out there. These people's keeping this nursery. We can't do what we do. So ministry starts with greeters, and these people's counting this offering. You know what? I don't have to stay after church. I told people, I said, this is the greatest church I've had in my life. Every church I had to cut the grass. Patty had to vacuum. We have come on Sunday mornings at church and had to vacuum the church because the people who signed up volunteers. Only volunteers is Andy from Tennessee. You're a volunteer, aren't you, Andy? You still like Tennessee? Okay. But that, you know, when you got the volunteers and they don't call you, they don't tell you, they didn't tell you that they went to a birthday party and couldn't clean the church, and Patty and I'd get there and the church wouldn't be clean. Me and her with vacuum cleaners and brooms and mop, and I'd be so tired before I could get to the pulpit. Happened many times. I stood on the outside looking for a piano player, thank God. Are they coming? 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 Nope, they ain't coming. Grab a CD. I've been through all that mess. But man, I told somebody, I said, this church, somebody's always here when I get there. The lights are on, the air's on. You know, normally somebody picks up my Bible and they'll take it and have it back here in the back for me. But they do. This is the greatest church I've been involved in. This is the greatest church. You people are the greatest people I have ever pastored in all of the days of my ministry. And I love you with all my heart. But just like the church at Corinth, what could we be if we grow up?
That's right.
If we grow up. But quickly, if you're in ministry, from greeters to the ushers to the safety team to the nursery, kids ministry, don't leave them. We'll pray for them later. Don't be bringing them in here. Amen. But if you're in this sanctuary this morning, you're part of the Christ Community Ministry team. I want you to come and face them. I don't want you to face me. I want you to face the people. Our senior ministry, our ladies ministry, praise and worship, our ushers, our visitation, our prison ministry, our nursing home ministry. Our comedian. Our comedian. He's so funny, he don't even know I'm talking about him. And just look how many people that's already involved in the ministry of this church. Maybe you're sitting back there and you're thinking, I want to be a part. This is my church.
Yes, thank you, Lord.
I run over Indian Springs a lot. I like it because dogs don't chase you, cars don't run over you. But I'm supposed to join the Friends of Indian Springs because they do different work there and stuff. And I told someone last night I'll be at your next meeting because it's not fair. I buy a membership pass there every year, but it's not fair for me to run over there every day and not give something back to the park. And so I said, I'll come over and I'll bring my equipment and I'll do my share. I want to do something. I don't want to just take. I want to give. So I'm going to go over and work at the park. I'm going to pick up limbs, whatever they need me to do, pine cones, whatever they need me to do. I'm going to, because I get something out of it. I'm thankful. I run there 4 or 5 times a week, and I enjoy the facilities there, so I need to give something back. If you're sitting out there and you say, you know what, I want to find something to do, if it's nothing but help and greet, count the money, you know, where's my lady that brings me this drink yet every Sunday? Get yourself up here. What are you doing standing back there? You don't think that this, let me tell you.
That's a drink ministry.
One Sunday you was out. And nobody brought me nothing to drink. And I told Kim, man, it was rough. Sister, let me tell you something. If you give a cup of water in His name, there's a reward. Cheryl, you help the kids' church. What are you doing standing back there? If you're a special singer, if you sing, ever minister in song, you need to be standing up here. Is there anybody standing back there that says, I don't have a title, but I want something to do in this church. Preacher, find me a place because I want to give. I don't want to just take this. I'm getting a lot out of it, and I want to give something back. I want to, because I realize I can't keep receiving without giving. It's better to give. So we're inviting anybody that wants to be a part of the ministry team here. God bless you. 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 Yeah, you keep on coming. Anybody wants? Hey, you know what? We're supposed to do the float again. You know, when we first done the float here, people said, well, we appreciate y'all being a part of the Christmas program here in Monroe County, but don't expect nothing out of it because the school has always won it. I'll just remind you, we've only been in it 2 years and we got 2 trophies in our 4 years. I don't want to brag, but we kind of took first place every time we've been in it. But it takes something to put that together. We're fixing to do a Christmas program here with the kids again. That takes something. And we need, if you've got gifts and talent to work in anything like that. You know, I got a letter the other day from a guy in Wisconsin. By the way, Ruby Egan, she took a trip to Tennessee and got sick, and she's in the hospital. I think in Florida, New York. She's in New York in the hospital. Tom Cromer called this morning. He's sick and he couldn't be here. But I got a letter from a guy in Wisconsin. He said, Pastor, he said, I want you to know that I'm praying for you. that I'm sorry to hear that you lost your wife. He said, I'm in prison, but I know I'm not going through as much as what you're going through. He said, a lady from your church has wrote me ever since I've been in here. Her name is Ruby Egan. And she writes me, and I found Jesus through her letters. And I feel like I'm part of your church. That's ministry. That's ministry. Anybody else want to join these? Quickly. Anybody else? Anybody sit back? Ain't but a few of them. We'll find you something to do. If it ain't nothing but sending a letter. Help and clean up after we fist to have Fall Fest here. Oh, it's going to be big and it's going to be good. But oh, it's a lot of work. We got these guys that can, man, cook with the best of them. Oh, Tim, he's the grill master. We got folks that hauls garbage off here after those events. It's a blessing to me. So if you're here today, you want to be a part of this ministry, I want us to pray one for another. Pray for that person beside you. That, folks, listen. Don't make a mistake in Corinthians then trying to bring division. Don't do that. We're going to accomplish a lot if we work together. If we stay together. Let's stay together. Pray for that person right beside you. Take me by the hand. Together we will work till He comes. There's no foe that can defeat us when we're walking side by side. As long as there is one, we will stand. 'Cause you are my brother, you're my sister. Take me by the hand. Together we will work till He comes. There's no foe that can defeat us when we're walking side by side. As long as there is love, we will stand. Maybe there's somebody that didn't come that you think because something you may have done in the past, or you've been hurt in church, that you don't feel like you can ever be involved in ministry. I'll tell you something about all these great people standing in front of you. Ain't a perfect one up here. There's not a one up here that hadn't made a mistake. There's not a one of them that hadn't quit. And so there's still room for you. Amen. God bless you. Love one another.